Good afternoon. So, with all that has been said thus far from Jane and from Sheila, and it comes to a point of where we really take a deep dive into, but what about the treatment? How do we really help and support? And that really comes from a very variety of different degrees and capacities of how we all can support victims or survivors of human trafficking. Vista Maria's role is that we have been around for over 130 years, okay? I've been there for only 14 of those, okay? So what's near and dear to my heart is, of course, serving children and their families, our communities. We service the whole state of Michigan. And to have that, the treatment and the leverage of what we do to service this population is really essential, is in real need. And regardless of if they're in child welfare, juvenile justice, or just any child within the community, is that this is a very important topic of how we can best serve them. Our mission is to provide care, treatment, and education. When you talk about, what's really the major needs? I mean, the child comes to us, and at that point, she needs food, she needs clothing, she needs shelter, she needs a whole bunch of things that come, when she finally comes to us. But what is the most important to her when she does arrive? I'm gonna be honest with you, when she comes to us, one thing she wants is sleep, rest. This child has been up for many, many hours doing all the things that we have never even imagined. And she's 14, she's 15, she's 16. And if you think about it and so forth, we think about what is it that we can do to really help? Because we all want to jump in and help. I hear that all the time. How can I help? How can I support? And sometimes too, even what Sheila was stating, just really slowing down, right? And taking our time and how we can best serve our kids and our adults. And I'll get to that in a minute. At Vista, we serve over 400 at-risk youth on a daily basis, if you did not know, in relation to our residential treatment and then our off-campus and community-based care and after-school programs. So, help and support. Which way to go? What do we need to do? And for supportive services, again, it can be a variety of different things. And oftentimes we might think of, yes, they need housing, they need legal services, and what does that really look like? But that's not the number one thing we jump to. Oh, call the attorneys, sorry, Kelly. No. But like I said, it's the housing piece. She says, I need rest. And how do we go about doing that and providing a safe haven for her? Then also, too, it is the education piece. On our campus, we have the benefit of having 2 charter schools on our campus. She has not been in school, and God knows when, or has been sporadic, or has been in bounce of different communities, if she went at all. And if you think about once the child is actually enrolled and actually starts going to school, the amazing work that she does accomplish. We've actually had a youth that actually had graduated from our high school and hadn't had that opportunity, and she had not had come to us. So if you think about the education just from that personal, from that child's point of view, and then also education to our program and why she's here. Because oftentimes, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be here. Why do I have to be here? And how long do I have to stay? And you think about this all going to come. But right now, we could take our time and you could just enjoy what you want with this program. That's a different perspective. That you have to come in and that you have to follow the rules and you have to do these things. That's a whole different response. Meet them as to where they are, and then they're going to be open to really succeed and fulfill their needs within the program. Now, the mental health and trauma treatment is definitely essential. We have experiences with youth who they're happy to be safe, but they make sure that no one can get into this window, right? No one can go through this front door, right? Are you sure about that? Had a couple of you that want to walk with the staff just to double check to make things locked, make sure that they're locked. No one's coming in. Also, too, is the nature of the sequence. Being in the life, there are things from the traffickers that they were made to do on every hour throughout. And coming to our program, some of them have that same type of routine. Oh, it's 11 o'clock, I gotta take the shower. Okay, it's 12 o'clock, I gotta change this clothes, this outfit. Some of those activities are still ingrained. And so come to the program to say, wait a minute, I can actually make choices on my own. No one's doing it for me. It's actually a huge shift in relation to how we respond to mental health and trauma. It's not just a doctor sitting with them and say, oh, okay, yes, let's diagnose and to meet the criteria of bipolar or something, or major depression. Those things may come into line, but that's not the first course of treatment. And if you think about the physical health that Sheila had responded to, and then once in our program, the program is designed for 18 months. And throughout that course of treatment and so forth, then we are able to work through those various needs as I just explained. But at the end of the day, even if they're 13, 14, 15, 16, or even older, the life skills development. What do you do to move forward? These kids have tremendous goals and opportunities, just like any other kid. And again, no one wakes up to say, oh yeah, this is the day that I choose to be exploited. And again, some folks say that, oh, it's a choice. No, it's not. There are kids. And how we best go about and provide that treatment and that care and concern that just common sense you would think is that they should not be treated any different. They should not be treated. Oftentimes I get a lot of calls that, oh yes, I would like to provide or volunteer, have services. And then I want to go into this particular program, you know? And it's like, well, but all of our kids need help. It doesn't matter if they are victims or have been exploited or not, but all of our children need help. And I think that's also in particular is that we raise awareness, and how you provide help is that regardless if the child has been trafficked or not, or exploited or not in relation to this realm, is that it's all been abuse, right? The psychological, the emotional, whatever, and it has to be genuine and essential at how supportive services and what your role can be very helpful. The same will hold true if it's an adolescent or if it's an adult. Many of the survivors have been in life long enough that they started when they were younger, if you think about it, and now here they are adults. And they never had to afford the ability or the capacity to even, in their minds, their personal goals, to be able to thrive. And so now one of the greatest needs is to have those type of treatment aspects, needs for adult women. And then the question is the need is the invisible population about boys' treatment. And what do we do? How's that go? How do we suspect that? How do we identify? A lot more questions that we need to have answers for, and what action that needs to take place. Trauma-informed care. There's one thing of being informed of what trauma is, but it's another thing of how do we respond to it? How do we respond? When we have treatment programs, or you have your own particular office and so forth, and you have the client before you, and how you respond to those levels of trauma when he or she is telling her story. How they respond, how they react when they are sharing their story. How do you respond to that? Because it may even trigger secondary trauma within you. You think about it, no one in this room is excluded from trauma, correct? So we are in this business of really providing services, engagement with persons who have highly traumatic memories and experiences. And so I really want to just call it out about being informed of what trauma is, but again, how are we responding to the level of trauma? And everyone is responsible. It's not just the mental health folks or whomever that's engaged. They're doing treatment. I'm just law enforcement, and I just make sure that they're off the street and I get the bad guys. No, we are all responsible for how we respond to trauma, more than just being informed. Jay mentioned collaboration, and collaboration is very essential. not only with us as in our profession and so forth, but also to the invitation and requirement that our survivor advocates need to be at the table too. That is so important with collaboration. Then there's to coordinate it. So we all agree that we're going to collaborate, yes? He's like, yeah, we collaborate, okay. Now how are we going to coordinate all these services? Because we all have, thank you, we all have services that we can offer and support one another, but how well are they coordinated and how comprehensive that they are to really meet the needs of the survivors. And then capacity, they're easily accessible, right? You don't have to go through 5 or 6 eligibility criteria. And we know some of us are bound through that through contracts and grants and that sort of thing, understand that, but how easily accessible, and then the capacity that we have throughout the state. Because we do have gaps within the state where the services are going to go, where they're going to happen. And then most importantly, how do the kids, the victims, the adults know where to get it from? Who do they call? Sometimes it's hard enough as professionals, so who do you call, right? Let alone we put the responsibility on the child, the family, the adult to pick up the phone and say, well, who do I call to get help? Because I'm ready to get help. At Vista, just want to give you a snapshot. This is our treatment housing. This is what it looks like on the outside. It's not the institution type of feel or residential. It is a house. And it's safe. And that's our kids like. I gave you a little snapshot of the bedroom there. Each has a private bedroom. And our program launched for that Drury housing in 2015. We've been providing services prior to that. In 2016, we served 60 clients that went through our program. And one of our major needs, of course, as Jane mentioned, is our funding. It is the what's next. They come to us, they get treatment, things are going good. We got therapy involved and yoga, espresso, medical services, psychiatric services. Okay, then what's the next? We're still working on our aftercare services. We extended and expanded our aftercare services to work with our families for children who can go back to family. Not all kids can go back to family. And then what do? What's the next step in the housing efforts and so forth that we need for our kids? Because there's still a gap, and we need to have that ongoing conversation and developing some action plans and around that throughout the state, in my perspective. One thing I think that's helped is our, in the Southeast Division, is the Joint Anti-Trafficking Task Force. I wanted to mention that with all of our partners. I think that's been helpful within that Southeastern Division. And then, of course, our ongoing collaboration with Department of Health and Human Services and so forth. One thing that we really worked on, and I'll be wrapping up here soon, is the nature of prevention. We're talking about treatment, and then the what's next. What about the prevention? And several of my staff have been certified in the My Life, My Choice. It focuses on sexual exploitation, but providing these type of treatment groups for our kids, not only on our campus, but in the community. And we listed at least a couple other service providers within Southeast Division to have these type of conversations with youth in the community. Because we need to have that ongoing conversation. How do our kids protect themselves, right? And then, of course, the need of ongoing training in relation to, and then overall is what we're doing today, and awareness events, and then our better preparation for screening and assessment tools. And then again, the overall continuum of care for our survivors, because that's in well in need. And I hope with all of us, as we agree that we're going to collaborate, right, that at the end of the day, we're going to figure out somehow how ongoing conversations and how we coordinate. Thank you very much.